Hey guys, it's Vincent here from Grundo, Gazette, and I just wanted to do a quick video. There was a bit of news this morning. So I wake up this morning and I'm being sent a link by one of our community members, a very good friend of ours, Iliot Mom. She sends me a link to something that I think most of us knew existed, but few of us had ever seen. Basically, the trailer, the sizzle reel, whatever you want to call it, for what would have been Jim Henson's sort of reboot of The Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin. So before we get into the trailer itself, I just want to backtrack a little bit on what we're talking about here. So this was a reboot of the classic Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin that was commissioned by Alchemy 2. They basically gave the Jim Henson company the green light to go ahead and start developing a new Teddy Ruxpin TV series. Only a few names were ever attached to this. Russell Hicks, one of the original illustrators for the Teddy Ruxpin storybooks, was on board to do at least some of the concept art. He has a background with Nickelodeon. That is a strong animation background and programming background. It was a connection to both the animation industry and to Teddy Ruxpin. Hopefully you'll hear about that in the Ken Forsey documentary, Come Dream With Me Tonight. I also know that it was being produced by a man named John Tartaglia. I have not seen a ton of his work. The brief snippets of his work that I have seen sort of sent the message that this was going to be sort of a different take on Teddy Ruxpin, which is necessary. You can't keep doing business like it's 1985. It's a different generation now. You need to speak to this generation differently than you did to the generation 30 years ago. So the only thing that ever came of this agreement was the production of a teaser trailer that I believe was shown once at a programming expo. All I had heard was that it featured the airship flying over Grundo and the logo. Nothing else was ever done for it. And I had to kind of take people's word on that because the trailer didn't exist, right? So I've tried to hold off judgment until now, but I've watched it a couple of times. I am someone who grew up with Teddy Ruxpin. And when I say grow up, I don't mean that my dad had one or my older sibling had one. I got my Teddy Ruxpin Christmas of 1986. I have known Teddy Ruxpin my entire life. So when I talk about this series, what I'm trying to do is not talk about it strictly comparing it to the old one. I can't sit here and strictly say, well, here's what the old one did, and that's why we need to do it this way. Star Wars in 2021 is very different from Star Wars in 1977 because the property has to grow and change. So with that in mind, I'm gonna try and take a fair look, and I'll try to give you my honest opinions. Okay. So I guess we'll start with the thumbnail because that's the first thing you see. The first thing I noticed is that the logo resembles the same logo that was used on the Wicked Cool Toys release of Teddy Ruxpin, which makes sense because this project was more or less commissioned in line with that launch. It's on brand. Nodbert's Castle kind of looks good. I have no qualms about the art. It looks colorful, it looks vibrant, you know, it looks like a fantasy world. Another nice nod is the flora and fauna off to the left-hand side there. I'm talking about the mushrooms specifically that are sitting there look very much like Grundo mushrooms. If you go back and look at the original stories and some of the old concept art and things like that, this is all very much in line with the Teddy Ruxpin brand. So, good job.
Come dream with me today.
Okay. So this was something that unfortunately I was made privy to. I guess I'll start with the positive. The first thing you hear is the melody. Come Dream With Me Tonight is an instantly recognizable song. Unfortunately, you don't hear Come Dream With Me Tonight, you hear Come Dream With Me Today. Why? It's a completely unnecessary change. Now, I have heard that the reasoning for this was, well, Teddy's adventures don't take place at night. They take place during the day, which I get, except it worked in 1985. It worked for the original television series. The first thing you hear at the beginning of every single Teddy Ruxpin story is, "Come dream with me tonight." So I don't know why. I'm sure it made sense to somebody. I don't like it. It's very easy to fall into that trap of like, okay, boomer, you know, hey, that's how it's always been, so it shouldn't change. That's not what I'm saying here. It's the fact that, unfortunately, the man who wrote those words, Ken Forsey, is no longer with us. One of the last remaining pillars that he left us. You're changing it because you don't think it fits. I could make an entire video just on this, but I'm just gonna move on. When I see something like this, literally 5 seconds into the video, my hopes for the rest of the video go from like, oh, okay, to no thanks.
Oh, hi there, friend. It's me, Teddy Ruxpin.
So we get a shot of the back of Teddy's head, and it's clearly Teddy's head, which is kind of cool. Teddy's head has always had a very distinct shape, so it's cool that they retained that. They could have done the whole trailer of just Teddy looking over the bow of the airship, and you would have known it was Teddy, because number one, airship, and number two, look at the shape of that head. It's like Mickey's mouse ears, right?
You're just in time. My friends and I are about to head off to search for a hidden treasure in the hard-to-find city.
Okay. I will preface this by saying I am not a fan of the look of Wicked Cool Toys Teddy. That's just me. If you like it, that's great. But one of my issues with Teddy in 2017 was his eyes. Teddy has always had brown eyes. Teddy's eyes are brown. From 1985 forward, they've always been brown. And somebody decided to make them blue for whatever reason, but it does change the character. A person's eye color is part of what makes them who they are, especially in animation. It's especially prevalent when you change something as immediate as a character's eye color. Again, this is on brand for Teddy Ruxpin in 2017, 2018. The tuft of hair between the ears is very Teddy-like. I do have one very specific complaint, not even from a Teddy Ruxpin standpoint, just from a production standpoint. There's something off about Teddy's mouth in this clip. I don't know what it is specifically, but it's a little too round. It's not as much of a snout, almost like a Who down in Whoville kind of mouth. If you watch closely, there's like really choppy animation on the mouth. I understand that this is a teaser for a series that wasn't officially greenlit, so they're not gonna spend a lot of time doing subtle mouth movements Pixar style. But man, looking at the animations on this mouth, it's rough. When Shrek first came out on DVD, there was this special feature. You could basically talk into your computer's microphone, and the software would match your speech pattern to the lip movements of the characters. And it looked terrible. It was a cheap piece of software that was a DVD bonus, right? And that's kind of what I feel like they're using here. There's a couple of shots where he's looking dead at the camera. I don't know enough about it to put my finger on why it looks weird to me. It's worth noting that this is the first time that they're doing Teddy in computer animation. So maybe it's just a matter of me not being used to seeing Teddy that way. The rest of his movements look fine.
We have this treasure map and these beautiful crystals. Now all we need is you.
Okay, so now that the camera's moving out from Teddy, I'm seeing that the eyes are actually the same exact color as the tunic. I understand that people put some hard work into this. I understand that this is a Teddy for a new generation. And ultimately this series was canceled, so it's not like it's ever gonna see the light of day. I feel like I'm trying to wade through what was created and find Teddy. Take this with a grain of salt, but I had heard that part of the reason that Teddy's eye color was changed was that they wanted a more diverse color palette, which was sort of the reasoning why Teddy's outfit was completely changed in 1998. I guess my gripe here is, if you're going to change his eye color, why did you leave his tunic as the same color as his eyes? It almost feels like you're wasting color. It's like someone grabbed the eyedropper tool in Photoshop and went blop, blop. That being said, I actually don't mind his outfit here. He looks like he's ready to go on an adventure. So the next thing that we notice is the crystals. He doesn't say anything about them being magic, but We don't know. One really interesting point is that the crystals now look a lot more like the gems in the caves above Rainbow Falls. They don't look like the crystals that were found in the hard-to-find city, and it's very clear that these are not meant to be the crystals found in the hard-to-find city, or that there are no crystals in the hard-to-find city. In the series, the crystals are the treasure, but he already has the crystals here, so was that just to show off in the teaser? And the crystals are still going to be the treasure in the series? I'm nitpicking plot points here of stuff that I don't know enough about. But it's kind of cool. Each crystal has its own color, presumably because that way they're easier to differentiate between. Oh, the purple crystal does this, the red crystal does this, the blue crystal does this. And I like that they kind of look like the rainbow gems from Rainbow Falls. That's a nice nod to fans who have grown up with Teddy. I don't know why they're sitting in the helm of the airship. Are the crystals what is powering the airship? I can't tell. That brings us to the airship itself. I showed this to a couple of people and they had a problem that there's jetpacks. There's like rocket boosters or some jetpack on the bottom of the airship. I had no problem with that. Again, this is a reimagining. If they want to fly around on an airship jetpack, sure. Of all the things that could bother me about this, that is one of the least. It still looks like Teddy's airship. It looks a little bit more steampunkish. Another note about the crystals, I had to go back and actually freeze frame this to make sure. There are already 7 crystals in the helm of the airship there, which leads me to believe that we would not have gotten Queller or the Black Box or any of that storyline. He already has all 7 crystals. So here's where we get to basically the meat of the trailer. We're going on an adventure to find a treasure. That tells me a couple of things. Number 1, that they are drawing on the original source material, and the first few episodes would have been following the same basic storyline as the original television series, as the live action special, as the original Airship and Missing Princess books, as the Treasure series and Backpack Toys Teddy. The second thing that tells me is this is not a sequel to the original animated series. This is a complete reboot. We're taking it all back to, no pun intended, page 1. Teddy mentions the hard-to-find city, that there's a treasure buried there, that he has a map. No mention of a medallion. Maybe the crystals sort of take the place of the medallion.
So come on, let's go have the adventure of a lifetime!
So Teddy zooms off, quite literally. The airship takes off like a rocket. The whole idea of it taking days to get to the hard-to-find city, I guess he could do that in an afternoon now. As he zooms off, we kind of go back to the logo that's in the thumbnail, only this time, as the logo appears, not only do we see King Nogbert's castle down on one side, but a little bit higher in the frame, we can actually see what looks like, and I'm totally speculating here because I have no idea what it is actually, but it kind of looks like Gimmick's cottage, which is cool. And then at the same time, I'm like, he lives really close to the castle now. I don't know if that would have been part of the way stories were structured now, is Teddy is sort of a hero of the kingdom. Maybe he was solving problems for King Nogbert. Neither Grubby nor Gimmick appear in this trailer. That's kind of annoying to me because when you think of Teddy Ruxpin, you think of the trio. I really don't know why you wouldn't put Grubby or Gimmick in the shot with Teddy. And I understand that they probably wouldn't have said anything because it's a teaser trailer and you're not gonna hire 3 voice actors to do what ultimately amounts to a 30-second teaser trailer. But it would have really been nice to see like Gimmick at the helm of the airship, or Grubby feeding the stove, looking out through a telescope, whatever. Okay, maybe it just costs too much to animate 2 more figures in there, especially when one of them has 8 legs. Okay, so my last 2 points here kind of go hand in hand. The first one is gonna be the voice. Again, I don't have first-hand knowledge of this, so take this with a grain of salt. I was told by someone familiar with the matter that the producer of this show, John Tartaglia, wanted to voice Teddy himself. I can only assume that the voice you're hearing is John Tartaglia doing his best Teddy Ruxpin. He's not trying to be Phil Barron. He's not trying to do anything except be a TV character. But as far as I know, that is John Tartaglia doing Teddy Ruxpin. Now, if somebody knows different, please let me know. Comments below. You can contact me in any number of ways. What are my thoughts on that voice? It's too loud. It's obnoxious to me. For someone that was a Teddy fan, it's almost like they never listened to a single Teddy story. Teddy's voice never gets loud like that. Teddy's behaviors aren't that bombastic. They're not that zippy, right? Teddy is quiet. He's gentle. Even when he's laughing, he laughs in a gentle way. Even when he's being urgent, it never raises above a certain level of volume. So to see him here kind of just doing a commercial, it's really jarring. And it's not just that it's a different voice, it's that the entire cadence of his speech is different. Everything about the way he's talking and behaving is different. That's why I said earlier, it feels like I'm digging through this, trying to find bits of Teddy Ruxpin, both as a character and as a franchise. It's almost like you could put any character in this spot and it would work, because there's nothing inherently Teddy about what's happening here on the screen. I told somebody, it feels like he wants to sell me a Happy Meal. You gotta go to McDonald's. At least when I was growing up, it was like, you gotta go to McDonald's and get the toy, and look, it floats in water and it winds up and, you know, just in time, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what I feel like Teddy is doing right now. He's selling me on something. He finishes by saying, come with me and have the adventure of a lifetime. All I could think of is the salesman from Family Guy, wacky waving, inflatable arm flailing tube man. That's what I hear, and he's passing the savings on to you! I'm gonna take 1985, Worlds of Wonder, Play School Teddy Ruxpin, Yes Teddy Ruxpin, and Backpack Teddy Ruxpin. Push them all aside. I just want to talk about this era of Teddy Ruxpin and the contradictory messaging going on here. The wicked cool Teddy Ruxpin looks young, almost babyish, like a little kid, like a toddler almost, which is fine if that's what you're going for, but that's not the voice that's coming out of the toy. The voice that I'm hearing out of this commercial, it sounds like an adult trying to be a kid, which is probably the most condescending way you could voice a character, because it's like, don't talk down to me. And that's something that I've always commended Teddy Ruxpin for, is he never talked down to you. He was always himself, and he always wanted you to be yourself. And he never pretended to be anything else, and he never asked you to be anything else. What I feel like this is Teddy trying to relate to children instead of, I'm going on an adventure with my friend. Teddy and I are equals. This doesn't place Teddy Ruxpin as my equal. This places me as the children that Teddy Ruxpin is going to teach and learn. And this is the issue with so much children's entertainment these days, is the program dictates to the child. Teddy never did that. And I don't know enough about children's programming or children's psychology to know what the difference is or how that's achieved, but I'm not also getting paid to know that stuff. It's kind of like the Star Wars quandary, where Anakin Skywalker had to be a 9-year-old so that kids would want to be Anakin Skywalker. Whereas in the original Star Wars, Luke is 16, 17, 18, he's like maybe 20, and he's cool enough that even kids 9, 10 years old want to be Luke Skywalker. I don't know what this obsession is, that if our main character isn't the same age as our target audience, we won't grab them. The original Teddy Ruxpin was 16 years old, and me, as, like I said, I had him when I was 1.5 years old. By the time I'm 3 or 4, I want to be Teddy Ruxpin. I don't need a 35-year-old, 36-year-old trying to be a kid. They totally missed the point of the character. They totally missed what made that character work. Everything that made Teddy resonate is absent from this. I also want to point out, having said all that this is clearly targeted at a younger demographic. I would venture to say that the original series seems to be geared toward 6 to 12-year-olds. Maybe a little too old for the toy, but they still love Teddy Ruxpin. They could get on this animated series and follow it through to its conclusion. This is clearly aimed at the 3 to 6 category, and there is nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean we have to talk down to our audience, and it doesn't mean we have to sacrifice story or character. I don't like being negative just for the sake of being negative. I try to be positive. I tried to give you the things I liked about this, and I tried to give you the things I didn't like about it. I think at the end of the day, if I could sum this up really easily, it's that this feels generic. Take Boots from Dora the Explorer and put him in the same airship and it works. Because it's so generic. There is nothing inherently Teddy Ruxpin about it. There's so much depth to Teddy Ruxpin that is untapped. There's so much to Teddy Ruxpin that is forsaken because a lot of people just see him as a talking teddy bear. He's so much more than that. Talking toys are a dime a dozen nowadays. It's not the technology that caused Teddy Ruxpin to resonate with his fans. It's the stories. It's the characters. As kids, my brothers and I would sit there and we'd talk about wanting to visit Rainbow Falls, wanting to walk through the hard-to-find city, being scared to go into a mudblub cave. There's none of that here. If I didn't know what Teddy Ruxpin was, I wouldn't care what Teddy Ruxpin was after watching this. I watched this and I'm trying to find the Teddy Ruxpin part. There's so many pieces of Teddy Ruxpin scattered throughout this thing, but Teddy Ruxpin himself is gone. It's important to remember that this is stuff that was never actually produced. It's not for me, but maybe it would have been for you. If somebody else comes along and decides to try their hand at making a new version of Teddy Ruxpin, I hope they do a better job of keeping the character of Teddy front and center. What are some of your thoughts on this trailer? Did you like it? Are you one of those people that would have really liked to see this series come to life? If you really liked the trailer, I want to hear what you liked about it. If you really didn't like the trailer, you could share that, but please be respectful. If you're going to say you didn't like something, please have a reason and don't just bash something for the sake of bashing something. That doesn't help anyone. If you could do Teddy Ruxpin now, what would you change? What would you keep? Let us know down in the comments. Don't forget to visit us on GrundoGazette.com. And you can check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Grundo Gazette. And we're all over the internet, so come say hi and come dream with us.